Okay, so now that we know a little bit about grid drawing, we are actually going to do an enlargement grid, which means that you're going to pick a photo, which I'll explain to you guys a little bit in a minute, that is smaller, and we're actually going to make it bigger. So I have my superhero, well, this is actually Joker, villain, chosen. You can see the picture is smaller. I'm actually going to basically enlarge it on here. So to start, I'm going to make 2-inch grid. So I'm going to start with my ruler, make sure that you line it up to the top, and I'm going to put at every 2 inches, I'm going to put a mark. So I might not have a perfect 2 inches off the edge of my paper, but that's okay. So I'm doing this really lightly. I am going to do more of these notches about every inch or so. Okay, so the reason I did a bunch about like every inch, I would go and make a notch every 2 inches. The reason I did this down my paper is so that my lines are straight. So sometimes if people put like a dot at the top and the bottom, their lines end up being kind of diagonal. This is gonna make sure that my grid is going to be straight. You guys can see. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line up my ruler with those dots or tick marks, whichever you decide to make, and draw my lines. And I'm going to draw these lightly because I'm going to use the grid as a tool that's temporary. I'm going to actually erase my grid altogether once I finish my drawing. Okay, and now I'm gonna flip my paper over and I'm doing the same thing. I've noticed that these rulers are kind of, the numbers are wearing off, so I'm just gonna try to make this 12-inch ruler work, lining up my ruler with the top of the paper, and I'm gonna make sure that my notch that's like where a 0, where to start, is at the edge of my paper. So every 2 inches, I'm making my mark. And there's my grid. So now I'm gonna take out my photo of my villain or my superhero, whichever you choose. Yours will actually be in Google Classroom and a Google Slides PowerPoint, so you'll have it in color to look at. Now, what I'm gonna do, some artists like to go ahead and label their grid. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna start with letters across the top, A, B, C, D, E, F, making sure to draw lightly. And then I'm gonna do numbers going down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It kind of helps me keep track of my grid. So I'm gonna kind of look at this. I'm gonna start with my first grid. You are only starting with lines. So all this in the background, I'm not worried about. That's kind of background noise. I am more worried about the Joker and his characteristics, his hand, his hair, the clothes he's wearing. So in this first square, I have nothing in that. I'm not gonna draw anything. I'm actually going to go ahead and I think I'm gonna do, I'll label mine quickly. So you're gonna notice that parts of my grid, I have like an extra number 8 here and I don't have on the bottom. So that means that this whole section here, this 8, I'm just not gonna include that in my drawing. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start with 3B. So 3B, I'm noticing, I noticed that he has kind of the curve of where his forehead is on the side and his hair meet. It's about 1/3 of the way, if you notice. It's right here. So I'm gonna start drawing that. I'm going to continue drawing, so the next square that I see, I'm just looking at one square at a time and where that goes. So I noticed that his hair starts kind of at the top and then it goes about 1/4 of the way. So if I were to break this up into 4 sections, it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's about 1/4 of the way down through the square. I'm gonna do the next square. So I'm not looking for perfection, but I am looking to make sure that I'm accurately drawing what I see and I'm not just making it up. I'm looking, okay, where does this line up in the actual grid? And as I go along, I might have to erase some, go back, find out my mistakes, but I'm just picking out the important lines. So once I finish doing the outline of Joker, then I'll go inside and pick out his facial features and draw these lines. I know that I use grid drawing, especially when I paint, and I want my reference photo, I want my painting to match the reference photo. I'll get out, I'll prepare a grid on my photo, and then I'll also prepare a grid on my canvas just to make sure that everything is accurate and in proportion.